Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla. If you're new here, you should definitely subscribe. Today we're doing my September reading wrap-up and my October TBR. I read 5 books this month. Last month I made a video choosing my TBR for September. You'll see that I kind of stuck to it, but then there were some new releases and books I wanted to read. So let's just get into it. I read some exciting books and I'm so excited to talk about them. So we're not going to waste any more time. So the first book I read in September was Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco, and this is the exclusive Barnes & Noble cover, and I think it's so pretty. This is the 3rd book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series. I read the first 2 books a couple months ago. The first one is Kingdom of the Wicked and the second is Kingdom of the Curse, and you're basically following along this journey of this girl whose twin sister had something happen to her. She's trying to figure out what happened the whole time. And she's a witch. She has to interact with the princes of hell, basically. They're called the Wicked. So there's 7 princes and they're all a different sin. They all have different houses of sin. So there's lust, envy, wrath, gluttony, sloth. Like, there's so many different ones. But you're following along this girl's journey and she's interacting with the princes, goes on a whole bunch of different things, and it's such a fun read. I love these 2 books. They weren't like my all-time favorites, but they're definitely like 3.5, 4.5, that range for books. They're great. I highly recommend reading them. This one I had very high expectations for because the way that Kingdom of the Curse left off, it was going to be like a perfect segue into this book, and it was, but I feel like this book had so much spice in it that this author just wanted to write spice, and she chose this book to take out that. I'm not kidding when I say the first 90 pages of this book is solely based around spice. That's it. And just throughout the book, it's just so focused on spice and lust and all that stuff. It's just a lot of spice, and that ruined it for me. I feel like every time something would happen in the back of this girl's mind, what's her name? Her name is Amelia. Just in the back of her mind, whenever she was trying to get done the task that she needed to do, she was just constantly thinking about spice with the other guy. So that was frustrating to read about because I was so excited to see how this book goes. I gave this book 3.5 stars, and I was just reading my Goodreads review because I know I went off on this, and the last sentence of what I wrote is, I feel like the author just really wanted to write some spice and threw her entire imagination into these 400 pages with no remorse or consideration to how it would affect the love story and story in general. So clearly I did not enjoy that part of it. But the rest of the story, all amazing. But literally you could have cut out 250 pages because of how much spice was in this. Literally the first 90 pages were nothing but spice. I don't know, if you don't like spice, I wouldn't recommend this series. Or you could just read the first 2 and be left on a giant cliffhanger and just not figure it out. I don't know. That's up to you. Overall, I say this series is like a 4-star series. I also just found out that there's another book and it's based in Envy's perspective, and I really want to get it, but I'm probably not going to do that for a while. The next book I read was The Brothers Hawthorne, and I keep, after reading this for a whole month and like knowing about this book, I keep saying the Hawthorne brothers because that's just what makes sense. I don't know why it's the Hawthorne, or I don't know why it's the Brothers Hawthorne. Anyway, this is the 4th book in the Inheritance Game series. It was very different from the first 3. I have the first 3 here, and I actually bought the hardcover in a thrift store because I only had the paperback, but it didn't match the other 3 books. So I now have all hardbacks of the series, and I'm so happy about it. But it is a little annoying that the spines don't match like the first 3 do, and then this one does not. So the first 3 books, I think I gave all of these 6 stars. I'm fully obsessed with this series. This is the only series that I will annotate. I annotated the last 2. I kind of want to reread the whole series because it's been a while. I read this, then had to wait probably 6 to 8 months to read this. Then I had to wait almost a year to read this. And same for this. Honestly, I'm a little fuzzy on what's been going on, but Zach is reading it, and he's currently on the 3rd one, The Final Gambit. He said he's not like insanely obsessed with it, but it's a good book. So now I'm like, did I just obsess over these because they were my first books I really read and loved, or are they genuinely good? I want to reread them to see. But that's not gonna happen this year. We're gonna focus back to just this book. This is set in only Grayson's and Jameson's point of views. They alternate every couple chapters, whereas the other ones are set in Avery's point of view, and that's just how it is the whole book, and you see all the brothers in it and like what's going on. And it's more of a game and a mystery. Whereas this, Jameson and Grayson are on two completely different paths, whole different storylines, and it just alternates between them. So it's a little choppy. I liked it all, but it wasn't nearly as thrilling as the first three books. It's still a really quick read. I loved it, but not as much as the other ones. I still gave it a 6-star because I'm just obsessed with this series and it holds a special place in my heart. But realistically, if I'm gonna be honest about this book, it's probably like a 3.7 star. Whereas, as I said, these ones were 6 stars. I think this is around a 4-star. It definitely wasn't the greatest book ever. I'm hoping that in the next one we get more of Nash and Xander. Also, the thing that happened with Nash in this, it was just skipped right over. And I'm like, the next one better like rewind and go back to what Nash and Xander are doing during this. Yeah, because that just, it was not covered, and I need some coverage on that. After that, I read The One You Want by Jennifer Ryan. This is so light compared to that other book. Oh my gosh. This one I got for free from a Goodreads giveaway. I put off reading this for probably like a year. I almost DNF'd this after 50 pages because the beginning is so hard to read. Like, check triggers before you read it, because it was really messing with me and made me really sad and upset. But after those 50 pages, not much about that was really discussed, especially in that detail, throughout the rest of the story. So I'd highly recommend it if you can like get through those first 50 pages. The guys in this, well, and the girls, they were kind of cringy at some points, and I just like, after a sentence they said, I would be like, that was kind of gross. I don't like the way they said that. That happened quite a few times, but I looked over it and kept going. The guys also, all the guys in this book, called the girls that they're interacting with sweetheart, and I don't like that. It only worked for one guy, and then he said it too many times, so then it stopped working. But literally, like, find a different word to call people. You don't have to say sweetheart to every single person. I like the way the story wrapped up. It's basically a whole wedding, but there's a lot of secrets going on, and there's alternating POVs between the best friend and the main character in this book, which was really good, because at some points you just needed the other POV to like really get the vibe of the book. I gave this book 3 stars. I'd recommend it, but it definitely wasn't my favorite. There were a lot of things I didn't like about it, but the way the ending wrapped up was perfect, and I really liked that. Then we have While We Were Dating by Jasmine Guillory, and I've actually read another book by her. I think it was The Royal Holiday, and I remember being kind of harsh on that book because I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and it was a love story based on an older woman, which I didn't really like. Also, if you can hear the rain that just started, I apologize, but we're just gonna keep going because I've waited hours to record this, and I can't wait anymore before the sun goes down. This book was very interesting. There's fake dating, there is workplace romance, kind of. There's celebrities, just a lot of different tropes going on in here. The thing I did not like about this book is how much spice there was. Like, their whole relationship was mainly based on spice, and then they like added in some emotional parts where it's like, oh, I actually like your personality. But a lot of it was solely based on spice. So I gave this book a 3.5 star. If it didn't have so much spice, I would have given it higher, probably like a 4. My SD card filled up. But basically what I was saying is, if it didn't have so much spice, it would be really good. It was a good concept. I don't know, just the way it all unfolded I thought was pretty good. But also at the end, I felt like the girl was a completely different character than the beginning. And not like really on growth. It was just like out of nowhere she got this different personality, and she was like way more insecure than she was at the beginning, and I didn't like that. But overall I think it was a pretty good book. And then we have Divine Rivals. This is like competing with Fourth Wing for fantasy, enemies to lovers, that kind of thing. They are 2 completely separate books on 2 opposite ends of the universe. I don't think they relate at all. like at all. I gave this book 5.5 stars. Okay, I don't even know where to begin. I love this book. It had every single emotion. I was freaking out as I read this. It was affecting me emotionally. It got in my dreams. I was thinking about it at all times. The first day I read this, I read 100 pages. The second day, I read 170 pages. And then the third day, I finished it. As I was reading this, I was gasping. I was like, aw, like so cute. I was almost crying. It had so many things going on. So her name is Iris. She's working at the Oath Gazette, and she's competing with a guy named Roman for the same columnist position, which is like the next promotion that they need, so they're like on the front page of their newspaper. It's set in the olden times a little bit. Like, everyone writes on typewriters, and there's a war between the gods going on. She decides to go write for the war to show what's happening, because no one really thinks it's actually happening and like actually gonna affect anyone. So she's like, okay, this town has nothing left for me. Don't like my job, hate my boss, I'm leaving. So she goes out there and she experiences the war. I did not know this. I did not know this book would be mainly about war, okay? It is. And I'm not a fan of that, but this was written so well. It made the story so much more intense. But basically this is enemies to lovers during a war, during like typewriter time with gods, and it's such a cool story and I loved it. I had to give it 5.5 though, because the war threw me off so much and I'm not used to reading about it. Not my cup of tea. I don't really like war. I don't want to read about it. But the war is essential to the whole story, so it's like almost a 6 star, but it's not quite there. But I'm so excited to read the next one. I can't wait. I can't wait. And then I'm currently reading The Darkness Knows. I've actually only read 5 pages. We've been a bit preoccupied the past couple days, so I have not gone to read or had the motivation to read, especially because it's a new book. It takes myself a little bit of motivation to get into a book. So since I'm not already into it, I haven't like wanted to pick it up and stay up late and read it. That is all my September wrap up, but let's get into the October TBR. So for September, I read 5 books. I think October I can read 7. I do have a couple trips and like family things going on, but also a lot of road trip time. So I think I can read. And this is all like mystery, fantasy, all the things I like, and I'm so excited to read. I think I'm gonna be able to fly through some books. So first up, I'm gonna choose a series to read. These are what I'm choosing from. We have Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey. These go together. I don't have the last one, but I can pick it up if I go through both of these this month. This month is my birthday. I don't know if I said that, but I'm probably gonna get more books for my birthday, so I'm probably just gonna choose 5 right now. And there's new releases this month, so I'm only gonna choose 5. Then we have The Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom duology, and then we have the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I don't know what I want to read. I think I'm gonna do Six of Crows, just because I've had this on my TBR for a really long time, and this is so hyped up, and it has been for so long, and everyone loves it. So I'm gonna go for this one, and then I'll read these if I get time this month, or, which I probably won't, or in November. These are the other books that I want to read. By a Thread and Perfectionist are leftovers from September that I did not get to. If you couldn't tell in my September TBR jar video, I was not too excited for this. I'm a bit overwhelmed with how many pages there are. 550 pages. But I think I'm gonna read it this month. I think it'll be a nice in-between book for all the fantasy and mysteries, just to have a nice little romance to read. So this is going to be number 3. I have Twice Shy by Sarah Hoggle. I know nothing about this. I got this at a Goodwill for $1.99 and I'm like, hey, that looks like a good book and it's cheap and it's short. So I got it. And I think this is also going to be a really good one for in between the fantasy books when I just want a quick little lighthearted read. It's less than 300 pages, so we're going to add this to it. Number 4, I have Red Rising and Cruel Prince, but these are both the first books in series, and I don't know if I want to do that. I think so. So now we're left with The Perfectionist and Shade of the Moon, which are just 2 random books that I've had for forever. I have no idea what The Shade of the Moon is. Okay, this seems like low-key a thriller. I don't even know what the genre is. Oh no, this is a series 2. I'm gonna do this one because I've heard nothing about it, and if I don't like the first one, then I don't have to get the other ones. But if I do love it, then that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna read this. It kind of seems like thriller, kind of seems like spooky vibes a little bit. This is a dark and scary novel. Okay. Perfect, I'm sold. That's perfect for Halloween. This is what we have for the TBR for October so far. But that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you loved it. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on bell notifications to get notified every time I post a new video. And I'll see you next time. Peace.